Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Your host, the Hud, and welcome back to the Baseball Head 2. Hopefully, you like this video. I haven't done a recorded video on StreamYard, this channel, in over a year, believe it. I can't believe it's been over a year for this. But we're going to go through the 2025 MLB Draft. Yeah, almost a year to the day. Last time I did a live stream or did any kind of long form video on this channel was on February 19, 2024, and just going through some rumors here. But this is the 2025 MLB Draft, and we're going to go do some players. And this article was put out back last week. So this is fairly recent, fairly new. And I hope you enjoy this video. We're going to go through some players. And of course, some of these players I don't know anything about. I know one player's name just based on the fact that he is Matt Holliday's son, Jackson Holliday's brother, and that's Ethan Holliday. And he is not going number one, it seems. It seems we got a new number one from what we knew about last year. And this is the top 30 players. This is according to CBS Sports. And I'll try to get as much information for you over the next few months on this channel when it comes to the MLB Draft, because that is an interest of mine. I know it's an interest of yours if you're watching this video. 2025 MLB Draft Prospect Rankings. Top 30 players in class, with FSU lefty at number one and Ethan Holliday in top 5. The 2025 draft is scheduled for July 13th, and the college baseball season opens this weekend, which was last weekend. So, which I was surprised it started so early. College baseball regular season gets underway today, which is last week, which means it's finally time to think about the Major League Baseball amateur draft, which is 5 months away. The Washington Nationals won't be placed in the clock in an official manner until Sunday, July 13th, when MLB kicks off the All-Star Game festivities in Atlanta. Nevertheless, the writer has spent the start of the year compiling their preseason ranking of the top 30 prospects in the class. As always, these are formed through a combination of conversational scouting and analytical personnel, first-hand observation, and historical analysis. There's some personal bias baked in as well, okay? Before getting into the rankings, I'll note that this draft is viewed as having an obvious top tier that consists of 4 players. Now, last year's draft was considered a very good college draft, but was not considered a very good high school draft. And if you saw the Mets draft, I think they only drafted maybe 2 or 3 players from high school. So it wasn't a very good draft in that regard. But this is a much more, well, we'll see. FSU lefty Jamie Arnold, Texas A&M outfielder Jace LaViolette, Oklahoma prep infielder Ethan Holliday, and UC Santa Barbara righty Tyler Bremner. There are other talented players who make the leap and join that tier, but for now, those 4 seem to be the cream of the crop. The rest of the class is messy, with one scout expressing the opinion that at a certain point early on, you could start drawing names from that hat and come up with an agreeable top 50. I didn't leave it to chance for this exercise, but the smoothness of the class is something to keep in mind if you don't see your favorite player represented. So that's telling that this is not a good draft again. An overall draft. The top players in the draft are good, and then everything else is not nearly as good. Number 1. These are the top players. It's not draft order. Top players. Number 1, Jamie Arnold, left-handed pitcher from Florida State. The quick hook, the lefty with good stuff and command. If you haven't watched Arnold, then the best way to visualize his delivery is to stitch together parts from other great southpaws. He combines Clayton Kershaw's leg kick, complete with hands puppeteering the knee even higher, with Chris Sale's longer arm stroke and lower release slot. Forget the anxiety of influence. Arnold has the potential to become someone others model their games after in due time. His arsenal contains 3 high-quality offerings, including a pair of distinct fastballs, a 4-seamer that elicits whiffs, and a sinker that includes ground balls, both at elite rates. He also possesses a plus or better slider that he's shown the capacity for back footing against right-handed batters and a changeup, though it makes fewer public appearances than Thomas Pynchon. Arnold has a better strike-throwing track record than Hagen Smith, the number 5 pick and the top left-hander in last year's draft. And one veteran talent evaluator estimates he's ahead of where Paul Skeens was at this point in his platform year. Interesting. That doesn't mean Arnold will reach Skeens' heights. Remember that Skeens discovered an elite pitch, a sinker, shortly after turning pro. But it makes him the current most compelling candidate to go number 1. Hold on, I need a drink. And number 2, Jace Laviolette, outfielder from Texas A&M. Now here's an interesting player. Power, discipline, and risk. Laviolette is the most fearsome hitter in the class, having homered 50 times and reached 43.3% of the time of his attempts over his first 2 collegiate seasons. That he did so while receiving ample run in center field makes him sound like a left-handed Aaron Judge. Hold that thought. Predictably, Laviolette pairs excellent swing decision with 70 grade strength, the kind that allows him to hammer opposite field home runs despite his operation featuring minimum hand movement. The blemish here is that Laviolette is prone to swinging and missing on pitches within the zone, triggering alarms about his bat-the-ball skills. Again, that sounds like Judge. Now, Judge was drafted lower in the draft than this player is going to be drafted. This kid's going to be drafted. I believe Judge was drafted maybe 20th, 22nd. Very, very hot, very low the first round. Except Judge never struck out more than 22% of the time as a collegiate. Let alone the nearly 29% mark Laviolette posted in SEC play. Even if you view the SEC as a high A equivalent, his real chance strikeout creep leaves him on the wrong side of 30% by the time he reaches the majors. Strikeouts are sociably acceptable more now than ever before, yet only 4 qualified MLB hitters last season cleared 30%, testifying to how difficult it is to remain productive with that kind of K rate. There's no denying Laviolette can walk and bop with the best of them. If he can connect more frequently this spring, he could find himself as the first player off the board come July. Number 3, their best prospect is Ethan Holliday, and a lot of people are saying that he's not going to be picked number 1. He's going to be picked number 3 or number 4 possibly. Shortstop, third baseman from Stillwater High School from Oklahoma. Good lineage and left-handed power, but some questions persist. Baseball is the Holliday family business. Ethan's father, Matt, was a 7-time All-Star. His brother Jackson is a future All-Star, and his uncle Josh has been Oklahoma State head coach since 2013. It's tempting to compare relatives, but in this case, it's more instructive to contrast them, specifically the scions. Whereas past Jackson possessed bat-the-ball skills and up-the-middle twitchiness, present Ethan traits in size and strength. He's likely to wind up at third, and perhaps in the cleanup spot if he fulfills his promise. Therein lies the rub. Ethan remains too prone to whiffing within the zone, as well as too inclined to chase outside of it for anyone's comfort. His power production over the last 2 years, meanwhile, has been closer to good than exceptional, indicating he may not slug his way through it. Jackson made a big leap during his platform season, catapulting from their preseason number 41 to number 1 overall selection in a matter of months. Ethan won't need to cover as much ground to become the first set of brothers in MLB history to each be selected number 1 overall, but will need to exhibit some growth to make that dream a reality. That's amazing. That's never been done. Tyler Bremner, right-handed pitcher from UC Santa Barbara. Elite changeup leads the way for the top righty in the class. The Gauchos have produced 1 top 10 pick in school history, righty Dylan Tate, back in 2015, when he went number 4 overall to the Rangers. Bremner, equipped with an elite changeup that ranks among the best individual offerings in the class, has a chance to join Tate high in the Custer Dome. He excels at mixing pitches and luring batters outside of the strike zone, generating well above average chase rates with both his cambio and his slider. Evaluators do question how well Bremner's game will port to the pros, with those concerns stemming from the marriage between his quality of competition and a just okay in-zone whiff rate. If he's just so winning over the plate against mid-major opponents, they reason how will he manage when he's up against the best of the rest? It's a fair question and an example of the kind of projection-based thinking that teams have to grapple with. For now, it's hard to deny him a spot in the top 4. So this is a very interesting, a lot of negativity with these young players, I gotta say. Next up is Eli Willits, shortstop from Fort Cobb Broxton High School from Oklahoma. Athletics switch hitting shortstop could make the leap. Ethan Holliday isn't the only talented Oklahoman in this class, with blind lines working in his favor. Eli's father Reggie appeared in parts of 6 MLB seasons with the Angels, and now coaches for the Sooners. Among Reggie's charges, Eli's older brother Jackson, who homered 10 times last season as a freshman. As for Eli, he's the only most promising member of a prep shortstop Cerubus, each vying to become part of the class's top tier. Willits projects to become a plus or better hitter with those forecasts hinging on his strong bat to ball and on-base skills, Derek and a power tool that could fall somewhere between a 40 and fringe average grade. He earns plus or better defensive grades too, and while he's likely to end up at shortstop at the next level, he's demonstrated acumen for several positions, boasting his long-term optionality. Oh, and he won't celebrate his 18th birthday until December, making him all the more appealing to model-based clubs. It's an aggressive rank, but all signs point to Willits justifying by July, so I would think that he would be the youngest player drafted in this year's draft. Number 6, shortstop Kason Cunningham from Johnson High School in Texas. Up-the-middle player with offensive promise, whereas Willits will have youth working in his favor come draft night. Cunningham's relative seniority, he'll turn 19 in late June, may cost him ground if the 3 prep shortstops remain neck and neck heading down the stretch. Make no mistakes, though, he's still an enticing prospect of top 5 potential. In the recent past, teams have been okay taking older prep shortstops if they believe in their skill sets. The Diamondbacks still have reason to think Jordan Lalo can validate their faith, and the Royals surely don't regret plucking Bobby Wood Jr. Cunningham won't reach Wood's heights, but his mature left-handed operation allows him to control the barrel in the zone alike, resulting in some plus-hit total projections. Scouts were more split on his future at shortstop, though. They all agreed he ought to remain at an up-the-middle position. It seems unlikely, then, that Cunningham will find himself honoring his commitment to Texas. Number 7, Billy Carson, shortstop and right-handed pitcher from Corona High School. Quality defensive shortstop with offensive promise. Carlson is a legitimate two-way talent, but the writer expects his future employer will have him focus on hitting once he returns professional. Simply put, he's further along as a position player, making it tough to justify waiting on his mound work to catch up. It doesn't help that he'll turn 19 shortly after the draft. Carlson combines smooth actions with a well above average arm, making him a plus defender at the 6. At the plate, he's shown a feel for hitting with a simple line drive swing from the right side. There's a chance he boasts 5 average or better tools at maturation, with a few of those settling in as plus or better. Given Carlson's defensive aptitude, that should be enough for him to go early and forego his commitment to Tennessee. Number 8, Luke Stevenson, catcher from North Carolina, top backstop in the class. Stevenson had an impressive freshman season, ranking 5th on the Tar Heels in OPS while serving as UNC's primary backstop. All 4 of the players who out-hit him, including Vance Honeycutt, are now playing in the pros. Stevenson will soon joined them thanks to a promising two-way profile. He provides legitimate left-handed thump at the plate, and he nearly walks as often as he struck out during conference play, easing some concerns about his hit tool. Defensively, he's more certain than his top counterpart, Oran's Ike Irish, to remain behind the plate. A strong showing this spring could cement him in the top 10. So far, some very talented players. Number 9, Krutz Schoolcraft, left-handed pitcher and first baseman of Sunset High School in Oregon. Two-way talent and the best prep pitcher in the class. Schoolcraft is reminiscent of Giants prospect Bryce Eldridge when he was entering his draft year, at least in the sense that both were big lefties who played both ways. The difference is that whereas Eldridge gave up pitching upon turning pro, I think Schoolcraft will instead retire as lumber. He's too compelling as a pitcher to waste development time on his bat. Schoolcraft is already capable of touching into the upper 90s with his fastball. He's shown aptitude with secondary pitches, and he posts quality vertical approach angles by getting down the mound and generating a flat plane despite his 6'8" frame. That's a risk with every pitching prospect, especially those coming from the high school ranks. Schoolcraft kind of balances that, even for only a little, with his left-handedness and possibility that he can fall back on his bat if needed. In the writer's eyes, that makes him the top prep arm in the class. Number 10. And I hope you, of course, hit the like button and subscribe. We're gonna keep doing stuff like this, and once we get close to the draft. Number 10, Devin Victory, and I would mention that I always do live streams the Sunday beginning the All-Star break, where we talk about the season, and then of course we cover the draft. And there's gonna be 3 rounds this year, the first night, so I will be on for many hours after the game. The last game before the All-Star break. So that'll be fun. Number 10, Devin Taylor, an outfielder from Indiana. Hitter's going to hit. Taylor's been an offensive force in Indiana. And in .338 with 36 homers and nearly as many walks as strikeouts on his first 10 seasons with the Hoosiers. He's shown a feel for contact power and the zone alike, giving him a great offensive foundation on which to build. He even batted .296 in last summer's Cape Cod League, demonstrating he's capable of swinging the lumber as well as he does the aluminum. Why isn't he hired? There are 2 main criticisms lobbed against him. The first, that his offensive excellence has come against so Big Ten competition. Reality that makes his strikeout rate spiking to 25% on the Cape a bit more worrisome. The other is that he's probably a left field in the majors, putting more pressure on his bat transferring. Taylor's boosters think he'll hit his way into or close to the top 10. Given his track record and the weak crop of college bats, it certainly seems possible. There's always a player that has an interesting name. And in this year's draft, in this year's draft, we have Ike Irish. And he's a catcher from an outfielder with Auburn. And he's a promising lefty bat with defensive questions. But boy, what a great name, Ike Irish. Irish is what you might call hitterish. He has the strength and barrel control to project as a high, above-average bat, with scouts gushing about his adjustability and willingness to use all fields. Both his strikeout and walk rates moved in the right direction during his sophomore season, and he even hit .311 whenever he was tasked with an SEC opponent. So he's a quality prospect at the plate. What about behind it? That's to be determined. Irish's arm strength is plus, but his accuracy wavers. The Tigers have deployed him at first and in right field at times, where scouts have expressed confidence he could be an asset on the grass. His bat is such that he ought to go within the top 30 picks, even if the team isn't yet sure where to play him. So he's got a good chance to be a very good everyday player. Best name in this year's draft. Avia Arquette, a shortstop third baseman from Oregon State. Physical left side infielder with the chance to move up. These things can change in a hurry, but this doesn't look like a good class for collegiate bats. That perception doubles as an opportunity for players like Arquette, a Washington transfer who could slide into the top 10 with a strong season. He has several factors working in his favor, beginning with a 6'5" frame that hints at his plus power upside. He's also expected to stick on the left side of the infield, with the scouts I talked to forecast him as a third baseman. Arquette sliced into his strikeout rate last year, reducing it from 30.4% to 17.5%. He still struck out more than twice as often as he walked, however, a rate that serves as a big red flag for a potential early collegiate pick. Arquette will need to take another step forward in his new surroundings if he can enter the summer with helium. Isn't that interesting? Hold on, I need a drink. Look. Number 13, Brendan Summerhill, center fielder from Arizona. Center fielder with a hit tool. His appeal is easy to understand. He's athletic enough to play center field, and he's demonstrated strong contact and on-base chops in every setting. He produced the second highest OPS on the Wildcats roster last season, and followed that up over the summer by hitting .286 in the Cape Cod League. Scouts would like to see Summerhill tease more oomph from his 6'3" frame. To wit, he's homered just 10 times in 80 collegiate games to date, all the while posting average exit velocities. If he can make gains in that facet, he'll solidify himself as a mid-first round prospect. Up at number 14, Cam Cannarella, center fielder from Clemson. Speedy center fielder coming off a shoulder injury. Cannarella tore the labrum in his right shoulder last February, but he put out surgery until the summertime. In the interim, he rounded a .337 line that never hinted at distress. Clearly, he possesses some mental fortitude, and that isn't all. Cannarella gives consistent good at-bats, both to his feel for contact and the zone alike. He's a fast runner capable of making reaction video-worthy grabs and swiping bases at a high volume. Clemson gave him the red light on the base pass to limit his exposure after injury, leaving him just 2 attempts in 2024. For all that Cannarella has, there's something he lacks: power. One veteran scout declared Cannarella had less raw strength than Brewers outfielder Sal Frelick. Same Sal Frelick who ranked last in 24 among qualifying hitters and average exit velocity. Cannarella has enough working in his favor to go in the first round all the same, but this ranking reflects that some teams won't be willing to use a first-round pick on a player so bereft of power. You stay away from players that can't hit for power, because when they get to the majors, they'll be hitting for less power. That is very important. I learned as a Mets fan, there were many years that they took players. There were a couple of years really that they took 2 players they never should have taken in the draft. They took Jason Tyner back in the 90s, which was not a good idea because he had no power, and Pete Crow Armstrong. When you go into the draft and the player is talked about as having all these great skills, but he doesn't have power, you stay away from them. Especially when this kid is ranked number 14 as of now. Now, these rankings are going to change. I would think that they'll drop because he'll develop the power. Let me see where he's playing. So he's in Clemson. So he's not going to add more power than he already has. If he was in high school, that'd be a different story. But like I said, the reality is if he's not hitting for power in college, don't expect him to hit for any power. And that's a player to stay away from. Cameron Ebenzeller, 15th overall, left-handed pitcher from Glenwood High School. Ebenzeller is a tall, lean southpaw with the potential to get much better as a professional. He's very experienced velocity gains over the past year, allowing his fastball to operate in the 90s with a chance to add on more oomph. That's the second oomph we've seen in red in here as he packs on muscle. Appenzeller that's a great name too, has shown a feel for a pair of secondary offerings. I hope that Ike Irish and Cameron Appenzeller get to the majors so we can hear people say the names, Appenzeller has shown a feel for, I hope the Mets draft Appenzeller. Appenzeller has shown a feel for a pair of secondary offerings, a sweeping slider and a changeup, and he's athletic enough to project starting caliber command. He's committed to Tennessee, but a healthy spring should result in him going college entirely. Next up, Seth Hernandez, right-handed pitcher for Corona High School. A lot more high school players in this overview. Draft is ultimately an exercise in probabilistic analysis. It's poker. You're going to lose sometimes in clusters, but you'll win in the end if you develop and adhere to a sound process. That means knowing which profiles hands to run with and which to run from. Nothing against Hernandez, but empirically speaking, the hard-throwing prep righty is the latter. Everyone knows it. Someone's still going to take the plunge of Hernandez this summer, provided he stays healthy and on schedule to become a mid-rotation starter. He's shown promise with his control and his secondary pitches, and he clearly has strength and athleticism working for him. All of that to say, Hernandez will probably go higher than this rank indicates. Trey Phillips, outfielder, first baseman, third baseman from Georgia. Undeniable if unconventional, often offensive profile. Phelps' game isn't for everyone, but I think it would appeal to someone given the weak crop of collegiate bats. He's a draft-eligible sophomore coming off a freshman campaign that saw him hit .343, with nearly as many home runs as strikeouts during SEC play. He struck out or walked in less than 16% of his plate appearances, a statistic indicative of his aggressive approach. The appeal here is that Phelps clearly possessed some good bat-to-ball, more importantly, barrel-to-ball skills. Beyond that, he lacks a true defensive home, having pinballed between corner spots last season. There's been chatter about Phelps seeing time at the cornerstone this spring, but seems more likely than not that hitter will remain his best possession. Okay, number 18. Of course, please again like this video and leave comments in the comments section. This is the kind of video I need to do this. Because on a stream, do StreamYard so I'm not like the focus of it. It's more important that you're the focus and me giving you the information, to be honest with you. And here we return. At number 18, Xavier Nellens, third baseman from Mount Vernon High School. Again, a lot of high school players now this year than there was last year. This is not a very good draft, but there's much more high school talent than there was last year. He has big power, but much to prove. Nellens is a physical left-handed hitter, possesses a clear separating tool, and is potentially plus raw power. He established himself as a prospect of interest 2 summers ago, but he's since had some so-so showings in showcase events. Scouts have developed concerns about the amount of swing and miss in his game, causing him to slip on some preference lists. A good spring could help Nellens move back up as a further away from ever attending Oregon State. Next up, Gavin Feehan, shortstop. They're based from Great Oak High School from California. There are 2 infielders named Gavin in this class who could penetrate the first round. The California preps to Feehan and Tennessee's Kean. Here's a little saying that'll keep them straight in your head. If Feehan's on your mind, your Gavin is Feehan. If floor is your feeling, your Gavin be Killen. Instead, Killen is an angular right-handed batter with above-average strength and some feel for hitting. The scouts they spoke with believe he'll outgrow shortstop and move to third, but the club views him as this class's answer to Aiden Miller. Could pop up as early as the middle of the first round. Next up is Kyson Witherspoon, a right-handed pitcher from Oklahoma. Fastball slider pairing lead the way for promising righty. Witherspoon had a solid first season with the Sooners. I'm so glad there's so many Oklahoma players. So I'm so happy that Carson Bench is a Met in the Mets minor league. And, of course, Nolan McClain, because I didn't get to say Oklahoma. Mets drafted a lot of Oklahoma players last year. At least 3 last year. So Oklahoma's a place they love to draft players from. Even the town, even the college. University. Witherspoon had a solid first season with the Sooners, fanning a quarter of the batters he faced and tallying a 3.71 ERA over 80 innings after transferring from Florida JUCO. He stayed busy over the summer, impressing with Team USA, and in 2 starts in the Cape, put himself into position to make a real push at the first round this year. Witherspoon has 2 above-average offerings and his fastball and slider, and the athleticism to throw more strikes, despite a truncated arm stroke. That doesn't sound right. If he can make good on his promise, he could become the 3rd Sooners right-hander to go in the first round since 2020, joining Cade Cavelli and Cade Horton. Cade Anderson, lefty with stuff, but can he throw enough strikes? And he's a left-handed pitcher from LSU. The Tigers have produced at least a second-round pick in each of the last 6 drafts. That streak ought to live on. LSU's roster is again loaded, creating the possibility that a den of Tigers gets plucked in the first rounds. I'm expecting progress from Anderson, a draft-eligible sophomore. He struck out more than 32% of the batters he faced last season, while also walking more than 11%. Anderson's delivery features a short arm stroke that at times forces him to play catch-up. If he can sync up his operation more frequently, his continuation of a low to mid-90s fastball and downer breaking ball can make him an enticing first or second round sandwich round prospect. At number 22, Max Bailou, outfielder from Texas. Tough summer has arrow pointing down. Bailou was the most productive hitter on the Longhorns team that featured a top 50 selection, an outfielder from the Rockies, and a prospect, Jared Thomas, batting .329 of 18 homers across 59 games. He then scuffled over the summer with Team USA and in the Cape Cod League, with the latter stint culminating in a .658 OPS and 33% strikeout rate. In theory, Bailou has all the makings of an above-average hitter at the next level. In practice, he'll need to regain whatever shine he lost during summer ball if he wants to maintain a spot in the top 30 come July. Next up, Ethan Conrad, an outfielder first baseman from Wake Forest. Everyone wants to be Seaver King. Few players in the country had a more impressive individual year than Conrad did. He went from posting a 1171 regular season OPS at Marist to flourishing both the Perfect Game Collegiate League and the Cape Cod League. Conrad has since transferred to Wake Forest, hoping to follow the same arc that delivered Seaver King from Wingate to the 10th pick in the draft. He's probably not going to soar to those particular heights, but there's room for upward mobility here if he continues to display a feel for contact with above-average strength. Another point in Conrad's favor, he's expected to spend more time in the outfield after spending most of last year stationed at first base. Now at number 24, Sean Gamble, shortstop center fielder from IMG Academy. Lefty bat with up the middle staying power. No matter how sophisticated evaluative methods become, at the end of the day, teams are always going to value players who can hit and run. That's good news for Gamble, who combines a promising lefty stick with more than enough athleticism to stick at one of the 3 up-the-middle positions. Gamble does have an outstanding commitment to Vanderbilt that could come into play if he doesn't go early enough on draft night. Number 25, Dean Curley, shortstop third baseman from Tennessee. Well-rounded left side infielder. Curley, a draft-eligible sophomore, is a prospect who operates without extremes. His only surefire plus tool is his arm, one of the better in the class. Otherwise, he's a player without either an obvious carrying tool or weakness. Curley shows a solid feel for contact in the zone. He has average or better strength. He's a fine instinctual runner, and there's even a chance that he sticks at shortstop, at least to begin his career, before likely sliding to third. Given how bereft the class is of good collegiate hitters, it's easy to envision Curley climbing boards of a strong showing this spring, particularly in SEC play. Number 26, Nick Demisnil, outfielder from California Baptist. Cal Baptist has never had a player drafted higher than the fourth round. Demisnil should change that this summer. He piggybacked a breakout year for the Lancers in 2024 by then holding his line in the Cape Cod League, rapping out a 311 batting average with 16 extra base hits, 26 stolen bases in 36 games. Teams tend to approach mid-major prospects with caution. Any given small school player is more likely to follow Mike Sorota's path, leading to a second-day selection. Then they are to hop on the Chase de la Tour Expressway and arrive in the first round. It won't help Demisnil's case that he's prone to expanding his zone, even against what's perceived to be weaker competition. Still, a team who believes in his dynamic skill set and his potential to stick in center could view him as an upside play and roll the dice within the top 50 selections. Number 27, Quinton Young, third baseman outfielder from Oaks Christian High School in California. The Hollidays and Willets aren't the only baseball families with a potential first-round prospect in their ranks. There's also the Youngs. Quinton's uncles, Dimitri and Delman, combined appear in nearly 2,500 big league games. He has a chance to log service time himself thanks to a fast bat and gangly, projectable 6'5" frame that suggests he could grow into at least plus power. Young's game does feature a fair amount of swing and miss, and his future defensive home is to be determined. I think he'll probably be a first baseman. He has a commitment to LSU worth being mindful of if he doesn't raise his stock this spring. He should just go to college, get experience. If he's this high now, he'll be a top 5 pick 3 years from now. And people will be clamoring for him because he's got that background. Number 28, Angel Cervantes, right-handed pitcher from Warren High School. A prep righty with a full arsenal. All the usual caveats about prep right-hands apply to Cervantes. The writer suspects that some team, perhaps one with multiple early selections, will find it in their heart to take him in the top 50 and keep him away from honoring his commitment to UCLA. He has a 5-pitch mix, including multiple low 90s fastballs and a plus changeup. He throws strikes even with a delivery that contains elbow creep, and he won't celebrate his 18th birthday until after draft night, making him more attractive to model-based teams. Number 29, Landon Harmon, right-handed pitcher from East Union High School from Mississippi. Projectable prep righty. Once more, all the usual caveats apply at the attrition rates and prep right-handed pitchers. Some team is going to pick Harmon relatively early on the first night of the draft at the same time, all the same time. He's already shown he can touch into the upper 90s with a carrying fastball. Notable given that his lean 6'5" frame hints at him having more room to add muscle. Harmon also receives high marks for his athleticism, allowing him to throw plenty of pitches and plenty of strikes. The rest of his arsenal will require refinement over the coming years, but again, that's unlikely to be a deal breaker when push comes to shove. And finally, hold on, need a drink. There's a lot of players here. And finally, number 30, and not at least the least, Matt Scott, a right-handed pitcher from Stanford, a wild card. To be blunt, Scott hasn't performed well during his collegiate career. Last season, he even showed reduced velocity, creating more cause for concern. Still, the writer is putting him at number 30 because it's not hard to envision him taking a big step forward this spring. He's a 6'7" right-hander with several quality offerings to his credit, including a fastball that atones for so-so velocity by featuring a ton of ride. Will Scott actually put it together at Stanford? I don't know. The road to self-actualization is treacherous and unpredictable. It wouldn't be worth braving if it were any other way. I do suspect, at minimum, he'll be a player of interest for teams confident in their player development staff's ability to get the most from a player with this much innate talent. So that's it. That's the top 30 players that are ranked amateurs that could get drafted. Now, some of these players are going to go higher in the draft, or maybe 2 months from now they'll get ranked higher, or some players will get ranked lower. Coming into the year, Ethan Holliday was ranked number 1. Now he's ranked number 3. So there's a lot that's riding on this, obviously, and we're going to find out what happens with these players. And I will do my best to get the best information out to you because I never seen these players. I don't know. I wouldn't know them if they fell on. So I need to get as much information on them based on what the experts say. So I like doing stuff like this. Hope you like it. And of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut 2. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Hit the subscribe button before you go, and I'll see you later.